or grew up in any of those old neighborhoods, the West 7th, Capitol Heights, Mount Airy, Lower Town, any of those neighborhoods? Okay. What streets?
I live in West 7th now, but I've lived in every one of those neighborhoods.
You lived in all those neighborhoods, right? Okay.
Growing up.
6 months.
What were the houses you lived in?
Well, what I live in now was built in 1848. It was a dairy farm.
Really?
It's an old house.
Where was that house?
103 Southwestern.
103 Southwestern. I know exactly.
Across from
Where
the
you were.
school.
Just off of West 7th, very close to West 7th.
Kind of behind Mancini's and
Where
down a
It's
block.
gone now? The buildings are gone or
No,
not?
we
Still
still
there.
live there.
They're still, they're still there? Okay. Okay. I know they tore down a bunch where the high rise or mid rise, that's right there. Okay. Okay, I saw somebody else that said they were in some of those old neighborhoods. Yes, back.
I live at 201 Goodrich.
201. Okay, 201 Goodrich. Built by, I believe Nathan Myrick, founder of La Crosse, Wisconsin, in 1885. Double house when it was built, and now a six unit building. Yeah, 6 units in that building. What other inner city neighborhoods? Yes.
I grew up, or I was born, I should say, for a few years and lived at 26 Irvine, which to my family was never called Irvine. Anybody that lived in the park always called it Irving Park. And so anybody that calls it Irvine, I know never lived there. But that's the old John Knox home.
Okay. This is really interesting. Okay. How many here today realize that the greatest concentration of our pioneer architecture is around that square? The actual name of the square, Franklin Square, originally Franklin because of Franklin Street. In 1872, the city, in order to honor the man who gave the property to the city, that square, John Irvine, renamed it Irvin Park. And I always said Irvine. You said they put a G on the end. Anybody who lived around it called Irving Park. And at the dedication of the fountain, the current fountain, replacement of the original, in 1978, I was tapped on the shoulder by the Irvin family. No E on the end, a long E on the end, but Irvin family, and said, by the way, our name is Irvin, not Irvine, not Irving, it's Irvin. And they were there at the dedication of the fountain, and I thought that was really neat that descendants of the family showed up. But again, 1850, just around that square, Chris and I are going to be leading a tour for a special group from Regions Hospital on Saturday around the square. Around the square, 1850, oldest standing structure in the city. Directly next door, 1851. Across the park, another 1851 house. Another house, neighboring house, 1852. 2 from 1853, all around that square. And all of that was going to be erased in the 1970s when the city said it was a slum, and we're going to build concrete high-rises there, 10-story concrete high-rises. So our oldest neighborhood, our oldest house, 7 of the 12 oldest houses in the city would have been removed, carried away to the landfill. And now it's our city's first National Historic District. Using the National Preservation Act of 1966, first law, federal law, that allowed the creation of historic districts, we were able to create Irvin Park Historic District. Later, when the Heritage Preservation Commission was organized, which is a body that actually has some teeth with some rules so that the buildings might be standing for another 100 years, it became one of the early heritage preservation districts in the city. So, a very special place. Anybody else? Inner city neighborhoods, Lower Town.
760 Tuscarora.
Tuscarora, so you're out near where the city began, around not too far from Fountain Cave. Yeah, in the West End or West 7th Street neighborhood. And all of that, by the way, is more of an late 1870s, 1880s development as far as the housing. Some of the oldest housing was along the Fort Road. How many people here that were in the West 7th area realize that Fort Road or West 7th is actually a freeway? It's actually the first freeway ever developed in the city. Yeah, it was never there. It was simply never there in the beginning of the city. Were you aware that eventually Fort Snelling got sold? Got sold to a sheep farmer, and he was grazing sheep there. He was behind on his payments, and along came the Civil War, and the government said, oh, that'd be a great place to train soldiers. Let's foreclose on the mortgage. And they threw him out, and they reacquired Fort Snelling. And we have it to this day, but the city decided that they were going to build this grand boulevard, and they basically plowed through platted additions. So if you go along West 7th, you see all these weird angles all over. You know, all the streets are coming at you at all kinds of weird angles. And that's because in 1858, they basically decided to push a freeway right through the middle of several neighborhoods. And what we know today as West 7th ended right at Ramsey Street or Grand Avenue in the early days, and they actually had to move several houses to push that roadway through, but it was finished just after the Civil War, that roadway, and then not built on really solidly for many decades after that, reaching out to the fort. Anybody ever live in Lower Town? Any Lower Town people? That was a big neighborhood, very big neighborhood. So basically, anywhere around Jackson Street or east of Jackson Street. Okay, that's our other old neighborhood. The Upper Town neighborhood, some of it's intact. A lot of the old stuff is intact when we think of Irvine Park. But Lower Town, a neighborhood that got wiped off the map completely. Yes?
We used to live a long time ago where Sweet Hollow Cafe is now.
Yeah.
Where's Sweet Hollow Cafe? On Dayton's Bluff. On Dayton's Bluff. We have the Dayton's Bluff historian with us here, Steve Trimble, tonight. Steve, raise your hand so everybody knows who you are. If you have questions from the east side, especially Dayton's Bluff. Steve
Not
is.
me, him.
So, thank you.
Were
Yes.
you talking previously about that neighborhood they call the Badlands where the hospital is now?
Exactly. Now that's another name, Badlands.
Yeah.
We're talking about.
Before we get to the Badlands, excuse me for interrupting, but next month on November 21st, can you hear me? Yes. Good. We're going to be meeting on the east end of St. Paul at Obb's Restaurant and Bar. Legendary because it was one of the first of the 10 bars permitted to open after Prohibition. How about that for something special? And we're going to